welcome to FutureLab Insights. This is where we interview inspiring mentors in our community. I am Brian. I am the host for today. I'm the CEO and founder of FutureLab.my. Our goal is to help mentor 5 million youth across Southeast Asia. Today, we have our guest Johnson Lam, who is the head of knowledge management at Axiata. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, happy to be here.
So just to begin, maybe you can share a bit more about what is knowledge management and what is your role in Axiata in that sense.
All right. So yes, knowledge management as per the name, okay, knowledge manager. So we actually manage knowledge that's been going around in the company, right? Not a lot of companies in Malaysia is into knowledge management yet. However, for multinational companies, big organization, this is very important, right? Just to explain a little bit, right? In big organization, in big companies, people come and go. And usually what happens here is that, when a new employee comes in, they learn a lot of stuff. But at the same time, you add on with your experience, you add on with things that you know, best known method, best practices for the job. And when the employee leaves the company, usually what happens here is that the employee goes away with that experience, right?
Yeah.
And the one that benefits it probably is the next company kind of thing, right? So to retain all this knowledge and experience around, that's why a knowledge management platform is important. And a knowledge manager makes sure that one, the system is up. Second, people are motivated and encouraged to put in, okay? And third, of course, the whole other elements like, getting them motivated, gamify the whole thing, make it exciting for people to share knowledge. So that's what I do in Axiata.
How long have you been doing it, and how do you even get into this role of knowledge management, especially if it's not a common role?
Actually, that's a very good question, Ryan. Although I haven't been doing knowledge management as a profession for a very long time. Actually, I've been in this role in Axiata for just 1 year. Okay. However, I have been doing knowledge management duty for the last 10 years or so, right? Because outside I created a community called KakiDIY, and that's actually what we do in KakiDIY. We gather like-minded people together, and then we actually cross-share and share knowledge. And that's actually why I was hired as well. So my manager in Axiata spotted this community, spotted the potential and what we actually do, and wanted to bring this in to build in a corporate environment.
So how do you actually store this content? Is it just Google documents or Google folders, or how do you actually what systems do you use for this?
All right. So as a community, right, we wanted to keep costs low. So we make sure that we use as much free platform as we can, right?
Yeah.
So one thing good is Facebook, right? Facebook group is actually quite a good platform for you to gather people and everyone gets to share, right? That's one of it. And second, of course, we started to build our own platform today, right? It's just a whole bunch of it's almost like a WordPress plus YouTube plus Pinterest and Instagram all in one.
Yeah.
Because end of the day you wanted information to look nice, right?
Yeah.
But Facebook group actually helped us to grow a lot, and actually even some of my movement and communities we won award because of that Facebook group.
Yeah, we will definitely talk about that a bit more later. So you mentioned you've always been important of the keeping knowledge and everything. Is that how you got into mentorship as well?
Oh yes, of course. Because end of the day, I think very aligned with all what we all do. We focus a lot into collaboration, okay, and also it's about sharing of experience. Because end of the day, we are not working in silo in this world. We can't, right? We can't possibly solve every problem there is in the world. So we have to work with other people. We collaborate with them. My skill sets plus your skill sets, we will build something even magical or bigger, right?
Yeah. So how long have you been mentoring? You told me earlier before this that you've any startup event you were there to mentor, right? So how many years have you been in doing this, and really what got you started in going hey, I want to be a mentor and I want to help?
Wow, I think probably more than 10 years. But the last, let me see, 8 to 10 years was my most active going around mentoring. Why I like to do that is because I think after watching the movie called Pay It Forward, right, I realized that along my life since young, I am where I am today because of mentors and people who helped me up along the way, right? And one thing about mentoring is not all about you must be you must know everything to teach someone, right? Mentoring is all about listening and learning and also sharing of experience. So I realized that they were doing that to me, and I grew, and now it's my turn to do the same to all other people lah.
That's beautiful, man. So how did you get into the FutureLab? How do you meet us? How do you get into a community? Like what inspired you to join FutureLab?
All right. So first of all, I saw your ads. It was on social media, and I got interested because hey, this platform seems amazing. And at the same time, it was during MCO, the lockdown, when I saw it, right? And because of the lockdown, I can't go to physical events. So, number one, yes, this should be a good platform for me to go in. Second is actually, I also found out that my manager in Axiata, right, Sashi, he is in FutureLab as well as a mentor. So I was like, oh, I got extra motivation to be part of it. Yeah, and number three, because I really like to share, and this is a real good platform, it's free for mentors. So, and at the same time, I saw a lot of great mentors in it as well. And mentors can always learn from other mentors. So that's why I came in, and I'm here to learn and share as much as everyone else.
As a knowledge manager, right, Johnson, what do you think the roles of learning and development is nowadays in corporates, especially in the business strategies and then the value creation part of it? Like, how important is learning and development now in these organizations?
Okay, definitely very, very, very important. Okay, so because end of the day, when you join a new company, right, there's a lot to learn. First, of course, about your job itself, right? Because end of the day, although you are hired with experience, but end of the day, you have to align that experience to the goals and objective of the company as well, right? Second is also the whole culture of the company, right? Because end of the day, you need to learn about the tools and how people work and all of that. So that's learning as well. And third, of course, learning from each other, from your colleagues and all that, right? So those days, especially, these were very obvious during the MCO. Yeah, because that time, right, people can't physically just sit down with one another and then learn from one another. HR department or learning departments can't even sit down with you to go through the cultures and all that, right? So a lot of things have to be either done online or initiative from the employees themselves, right? So that's why in terms of all that, a lot of people went digitally transform or digitizing their whole system, just like your platform as well is online and on the cloud, so that people can enable this learning and development themselves, right?
Yeah, so you mentioned about the importance of you mentioned about the importance of learning, right? And all this information you need to learn even though you're an experienced hire. How do you build that mentality of learning, right? Because I think there's one thing about this is the knowledge base, this is everything you need to do, but how do you encourage your employees to this is really important, right? How do you get them to build that kind of learning culture in the organization?
Okay, there's two ways. Okay, there's more ways than that. But there's always two ways, right? The carrot and the stick. So of course, traditionally, we've seen that from school as well, right? You do bad in school, you get, right? That's the stick, right? Yeah, of course, there are traditional companies that does that, right? Because if you don't learn enough, you're not good in your job, you get into PIP, which is like performance improvement plan, and then after that, terrible things happen. But these days, we are all adults, and we are all in this environment where we encourage people. So encouragement, that's the carrot, right? You dangle the carrot in front of, the elephant, and the elephant goes straight. So we actually showcase to people how important this is. Right? Because end of the day, when you grow in your career in terms of knowledge and experience, you will be able to solve problems better, right? You'll be able to perform better in a job, and not only that, you add value to the job and to the company. And with that, usually also means you add value to your salary and pocket and bonus, right? So those are the cookie part of it. Those are the encouragement part of it. However, it is also, right, something that I always encourage people. It's about lifelong learning. Because end of the day, you're not just learning something for your career, for your current job. You're also learning to improve yourself. And all this, experience and skill is not just applied in or at work. It's applied to anything outside as well, right? You go out to the community, you are back at home with your residents, community and things like that. You apply all these skills that you learn from work, problem solving, communication, critical thinking and all that, anywhere, right? And with that, when you, of course, later on, you might move to another company or another career or even start your own business, those are added advantage for every one of us.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Right, you mentioned the carrot or the carrot or the stick, right? There's like the how do you like? Let's say for companies that are interested in setting up these kind of learning development initiatives in organization, and maybe not as forward thinking as Axiata, right? How do you kind of like, what advice would you give them to say like why this is important? And sometimes they say it's very hard to build that culture, especially if you don't have that culture, right?
Yeah.
So how do you have any advice for anyone that's trying to start that culture? Like, how would you build this kind of learning culture, the importance of knowledge sharing and stuff like that?
Okay. So first of all, I think every company will have this one. I think everyone will agree on this one, right? Every company wants to grow and scale, especially in terms of performance financially and all that, right?
Yeah.
And with that as a target, right, everyone in the company has to be on board, right? Hands on board to make sure that we are aligned towards that goal. And how are we going to get there is definitely through certain, of these modules or blocks. And all this will require a lot of learning and development. Will have a lot of experience sharing, because end of the day we might have a very good manager that is driving everything, but then we also have like probably some fresh new hires or even interns with fantastic ideas, but they don't have the right maybe resources, manpower or contacts within the company to do so. That's how we make sure that if there's a platform like that or people are sharing, they can be connected to the right people and everyone drive towards the same goal and objective, right?
Yeah.
So that is the first step to create a culture. Of course, secondly, very important these days is the whole openness in the culture, right?
Yeah.
So that anyone can talk to anyone. Because a lot of traditional companies, okay, I've been working through like MNC and local companies and all that. Some companies are very closed door basis, like I'm a director, I don't speak to you kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? So that has to go. And the good thing is today with social media and all that and platforms, these barriers are slowly disappearing. Yeah, because you might be a director in the company, but in TikTok world, you're nobody, right?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So with that, you can see that, younger generation or whoever coming in, right? They bring their experience and they can showcase to the rest of the world, and, big bosses are learning from them, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. Maybe you can share a bit more about the importance of mentorship you've seen in Axiata and also knowledge management in the organization. Maybe you can share. Do you guys do any mentoring initiatives, or do you mentor your colleagues? Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's actually a few initiatives happening inside actually, right? So we have this particular program where we mix up high level management, mid level, and also junior people into a group of catching up sessions and all that, which is actually a mentoring session and a coaching session where everyone share your experience and ideas, and everyone also means that even you are a new joiner, you have other experience outside that you can share, and the management actually listens and learn from you, right? So that is one of it. And we have a very, very open policy. So anytime, anyone can just set up a meeting with a manager or director to go through ideas and to talk to them. So that is the thing that's happening inside, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, we are also collaborating with other platforms, just like yourself, and we make sure that everyone is open to go out and learn and share with everyone else out there as well.
What kind of benefits do you find connecting, the senior leaders in middle management to juniors? What kind of is that intimidating for the lowest rank in that circle? Like how does, what kind of benefits have you seen coming out of that kind of mentoring circles?
All right. So let me start from new joiners or the younger people, right? Younger generations, right? Yeah. By having this type of openness, the good thing is it helps to build confidence. Because if you are you have the chance to talk to higher management people in a company.
Yeah.
Okay, I will guarantee you will be more confident, and it's easier for you to go out and talk to anyone else. Right?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that's one. Second is, of course, there's a lot to learn directly from people who have experience, right? Especially in the company, learn about the culture of the company, learn about why the company is doing so and so, and also why the management is doing such decisions as well. All right, all this all this conversation probably happens during mentorship and coaching sessions rather than you read it from the company website or something like that, right? And also, last but not least, the other way around, for management to learn from the young generation, to learn from fresh ideas, because like just now we had this conversation, right? When I go and mentor the different events, I realized that the younger people, like the 16-year-old and 21 years old, they have fantastic creative ideas, and their ideas are usually not bound by I don't know lah, what do you call that? Real life experience,
Real
right?
life experience.
Yeah, and usually the more aged ones, or the ones that are working longer in the industry, right? Usually when you come up with an idea, it's already filtered. It's like, it's not financial viable, you cannot work in this environment, things like that. So you are limited with the choices of ideas and even decision making, right? So by having that, okay, good experiences, plus with, good open ideas from younger people, okay, both of these, when you add them together, then suddenly you realize that, hey, that's a new idea, there's a better way to solve problems and things like that.
Okay. So we talked about the circle groups here that you're doing in Axiata and other kind of programs and platforms you've been joining, right? So prior to these kind of programs, a lot of people did like online, like learning, like classroom learning, training. What do you find is the difference between this kind of peer-to-peer learning versus you go in, a trainer trains you, or you do this online course? What do you find is the pros and cons for both, maybe?
Okay, so one, I'm an ADHD, so classroom never worked for me. Okay, that's one thing, right? So I'm actually, okay, it is good because end of the day, right, a very experienced, skillful person can one time talk to like 100 people, right? The problem is now with digital technologies, okay, ADHD like me, or youngsters today grew up with technologies and all these things that's happening all at one time, right? How do you say, the attention span is getting shorter and shorter. So this type of classroom setting might not really work because it's one way, and two, halfway through, after the first 5 minutes, you'll be distracted with something else, right? And versus if you're looking at the peer-to-peer kind of setup, right? Yeah. Peer-to-peer setup at least is a two-way communication. Yeah. And at least the student or the learner, when they wanted to learn something, it's very easy for them to ask questions and get their answers directly. Yeah, and that will keep them in focus, right? And then the other thing is as well as the mentor, the trainer, this type of peer-to-peer is also an open platform where they can listen to the feedback and know whether they are coaching the right direction or touching the right points. Because if it's in the classroom setup, right?
Yeah.
I just tell you, okay, top 3 things to do, blah, 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 and that's it, right? But in a peer-to-peer, top 3 things to do, 1, 2, 3. Oh, why number 2 is not, applicable? Your problem is slightly different. And then they will slowly, at least you can share something that aligns or something that is related.
Yeah. So it sounds like learning is just evolving, based on like the kind of people going to the workforce, the type of things we need to learn, and also the way that we want to learn. It's also evolving as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you see today, schools are focusing towards 21st century learning, right? Yeah, so 21st century learning is all about experiencing it, it's all about problem solving, creative thinking, and all this can only happen if there's always check and balance, there's always feedback and all that, right? And one way doesn't work that way.
Okay. All right. So we get a lot of young professionals that are a bit worried about, are they experienced enough to be a mentor, right? So Johnson, what advice do you have for these kind of mentors or these young professionals that haven't decided they want to be mentors yet, but are thinking about it, and how can they step up?
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question, because end of the day, no one is ever ready for something, right? If you're waiting for the magical day that you're ready for something, you'll forever be not ready, right? But one thing about being a mentor and a coach, right? Okay, mentor especially. One thing good is you don't have to be like super professional or super certified. Of course, I have a certificate from FutureLab, that's good. Okay, for something, because end of the day, the most important skill in mentoring is not about teaching. It's about listening, right? And learning. You go into, any session to mentor, you listen about what's the problem is all about, right? You talk to the person, your mentee, and then what you do is actually you're sharing your experience and you are sharing how would you do it differently, right? Because mentorship is not lecturing, right? We are not there to like, oh, you do it wrong, you're supposed to be this and that. No, right? We are actually sharing like, okay, in my experience in this particular situation, this was what I did, right? These were the items, these were the actions that I created. However, it might be different here because maybe from another experience, if we are too harsh on this, okay, it doesn't work, so we try like that. So mentoring is all about that. It's about sharing, right? It's like having a conversation with a friend, right? So just that, this friend I just got to know in this platform, so just go and have fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you brought a good point, right? I think it's not about telling them what to do. You're just helping them think about a different way of looking at it, and based on your own experience as the mentor, right?
Yes,
So at least they can think about that. You mentioned about, it's about listening. But what other skill sets do you think are important in developing a mentorship relationship?
Okay. So of course, one thing all mentors shouldn't do, right, is, you shouldn't try to go in like, I am great, I have X amount of experience, I did this before. It doesn't matter in a mentorship session, okay? The most important thing is be open, right? Be open, and then it's not for you to force your idea or force your suggestion down to your mentees as well, right? You share, okay? You listen for the feedback and see where it goes from there, right? So that's very important in the whole attitude itself. Because I've seen before some mentors, right? They have this ego layer, right? I hope you guys don't do like that. Yeah, and it goes in, and then the conversation became very, I would say, awkward. And sometimes the mentee might get defensive as well, like, why my idea is not good and why are you attacking me this way? Okay, don't do that, right? So as mentors, be open, okay? Come in, have a good discussion, okay? And if you are sharing something that's very serious and you believe in it, but it's not taken well, it's okay, because end of the day, okay, you done your job and that's good enough, right? Yeah. And of course, one more thing that is very good that I find it very useful is after that session itself, okay, if you have time and all that, take the initiative to do some follow-up, right? Because sometimes, okay, the mentee might be busy or forgotten about it, but with that little follow-up, right, it actually sparks them up for something great, right? And I've seen this before a few times.
Yeah, actually that's a great point, right? Is that small follow-up, just so that it's not like one-off session and then it feels like you're actually building a relationship, right? And catch up. And I think also for mentors, you want to see the updates as well, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I think it's like after you mentor them, how have they progressed? So and then another tough question though. So when you're comfortably saying you're a mentor, right? But how do you start that? How do you go like, hey, I'm a mentor now?
Okay.
How do you even practice that mentoring skill set where you want to try it, you really love it, but I'm too shy to go like, hey, I'm a mentor.
Yeah.
It's it's an awkward thing. It's a bit awkward to say also.
Actually true.
Right?
Actually true, yeah. So I think I evolved, right? So I started probably many years ago, even in high school, as a tutor. As a tutor, right? So tutor is halfway there to a mentor.
Yeah.
But the difference is tutor is more towards teaching, right? You do this, you do that. Have you tried this? Okay, yeah, here's the solution, right? Then from there, you take a step back to understand the problem of people and then sparking them on different ideas or different ways to solve problems. That's towards mentorship and slowly towards coaching as well, right?
Yeah.
So I think from there, I built up the whole confidence. And I built up the whole I realized that this is how mentors are supposed to be. And with that, I joined a lot of events, starting from easily 10 years ago, right? You have all these hackathons, which has mentors, right? We have startup weekends and all that. So by being a mentor there, I went down and shared my experience. At the same time, I learned from others. And that's the one that actually fueled me to do even more, because every session that I go to, I learn. So that's why as a mentor, I love to be in there, because every session that I go, not just that I'm sharing, I'm also learning.
Yeah, so you mentioned that mentors can learn while you're mentoring. what would you say mentorship has helped you in your career progression? Right, like thinking about you're learning active listening, you're helping these young, but how has it benefited you in your career?
Okay. Yes, because end of the day, okay, I work 9 to 5, right? And only in the weekends and my free time, I come out to do mentorship and things like that, right? So which also means that I don't have a lot of time to also do my own like research or studying about the current trends and things like that. And it's usually during all these mentorship sessions that I learn about current trend. And I tell you, this is serious stuff. For example, the current trend of social media, right? If I weren't doing mentoring, I tell you today, I'll just like Facebook, LinkedIn, right? And because of all this mentorship session, I learned from other people, especially the students, right?
Yeah.
Like how powerful things like TikTok is, like Snapchat those days, and how it can evolve to help businesses. And with that, actually, the whole mindset in my corporate work changed, because of how we engage customers, right? And all this I learned from mentorship sessions where I am a mentor. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so let's focus on mentees now, right? So all these Gen Z entering the workforce, post-pandemic, the last couple of years they graduated, couldn't find jobs. Like, how can they prepare to enter the workforce? Like, any advice for them?
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay, this one is broad and kind of serious as well, right? Because first of all, I think everyone should understand where their current stand is, right? Because some people, like students, like those days when I graduated, right? My main concern was financial sustainability, right? So that time I had to work ASAP because I need to, at least buy food, right?
Yeah.
So if that is the case right now, then usually what we do is, it's fine, just try out any of the gig economy stuff, right? You can be a Grab driver or whatever, anything that pays the bill, okay? But at the same time, don't go into this type of work thinking that, it's just a crappy job, it pays the bill. No, my first job, I worked in McDonald's, right? And yes, it pays the bill and free food, okay? However, I learned a lot from McDonald's, right? I learned about management. I learned about cleanliness and process, teamwork, okay? Because end of the day, in McDonald's, you don't work alone as well. You work with your teammates, right? And all these skills actually brought me very, very far up to today. There's one thing that I learned from there is called clean as you go, okay? So in F&B restaurants, right, when you work, the moment you walk from this part to that part, you see something, right? You clean, you take your cloth and stuff like that. So you always keep on improving process and do something, right? So that applies all these 20 over years, okay, I'm old, working, right? So that's one. Second is, okay, let's say some of the lucky ones, right? Money is not a problem. Then what you want to do next, right? Always align what you want to do with your passion. Okay, it's easier said than done. Okay, it took me easily 15 years for me to understand this actually. Okay, so what do you like to do? What drives you? Every day in the morning, the first thing you jump off to do that. Okay, that's probably your passion and your hobby and something that you like. So since you like to do that, apply and align that to your future jobs and things that you want to do. That is either your career or something that can pay off, right? Yeah, that's how people can build startups based on their passion, or people who can do the same type of work along the last 20 over years, right? And this applies back to myself as well. I like to learn, DIY, and share. All this while, since I was 7 years old, right? I've been doing that in schools and things like that. And along the way, I worked in company doing exactly the same thing. My first 10 years of my career, I worked in IT and computing companies. I do that. I build platforms to let people learn about the products, right? And then recently now, of course, as a knowledge manager, I make sure that people are collaborating, learning and sharing from each other.
You mentored a lot of mentees, right? What kind of advice would you give, these kind of mentees trying to enter the workforce? You mentioned getting some work experience and stuff, but also in this day and age, they don't know what they want. That's another big problem, right? It's like now people have good degrees, people can almost do anything. How do you help them, give some guidance for them to what to do next, or what to do?
Okay. Okay. That's a fantastic question, because when I first came out to the real world after graduation, right, I don't know what I want as well. Okay, so I studied computer science those days, and those days I tell you, computer science is about like coding and C programming and Prolog and stuff like that, which is which extinct today, right? So anyway, that time alone, I don't know what I wanted to do, right? So I was jumping from job to jobs. I was doing sales, right? I was into motorsports. I was doing automotive and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but one thing is, yeah, because that time also is all about like paying off and you know, buying food and on the table and stuff like that. It's about financial sustainability, right? But one thing about today is you won't be able to know what you really want to do in life immediately when you start graduating anyway, right? Majority of the people don't. So don't worry. One, just go out there and experience things, right? You know, in other countries, people have they call it what, the leap year, the break year, where they just go out and just
Gap year.
Gap year,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
exactly, right?
Okay.
They go for holidays and then they do like some summer part-time jobs
Yeah.
and things like that. It is not wasting time. It is actually gaining experience.
Experiences.
Yeah, because I actually got some awesome ideas which was implemented just because I went for a holiday, right? Yeah, things like that. So take your time to learn. The most important thing is always constant learning, right? Always constant, you know, seeing what's happening out there and absorbing that, rather than just going for holiday and just chilling like for 5, 6, 7 days, something like that is a little bit too much, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like, I mean, if you found a job and you know that it's not quite suitable, okay, but that's the only job you have, just do it first, right?
Okay. Okay, so this is a question for young graduates that want to enter Axiata, right? Maybe you could share a bit more like the most critical skills and traits Axiata is looking for when when people apply
Yep.
for your teams, or as well as what are the gaps you normally see
Okay.
in this when they apply. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. As per any other companies as well, right? We want everything. Okay. Not really. So in Axiata, there's two particular points that is very, very in focus, right? We even have marks printed with it. It's called UIEP. Basically, I stands for integrity, okay, P stands for performance, okay.
Yeah.
So of course, every company would want to have high performing individuals, right? Anyway, at the same time, high performing doesn't mean that you're doing things the wrong way, right? It's a different part of the skill.
Yeah.
You can be performing very well, but then you're doing all kinds of illegal stuff to be performing well. That's not good, right? So high integrity, doing the right thing, right? It's also equally important. So that's the only two that is most important, okay? Integrity, high integrity, and performing well, okay? So basically, we base our skill set on that.
Yeah.
And of course, along the way is having fun and all this cultural stuff. We are very open in the company.
How do you demonstrate integrity as a young graduate?
Oh, that's the easiest actually. Okay, because end of the day, everyone out here, right? Whether you just joined the company as a young graduate, or even let's say me, I'm hired into another company today at this ripe old age, right? We have to prove ourselves, right? Prove ourselves by doing the right thing. Because end of the day, people don't really, okay, of course, experience, your certificate and skill set is very important. But people do look at how you do the work, right? For example, if you see something is wrong, okay, you report it up, or you do some initiative to fix it, or you call it out, or you pass it to the right people, okay? Those type of things actually shows a lot about a person's character.
Okay. I think you've been mentoring a lot of our mentees as well. Do you have any advice for anyone that is being mentored by you?
Oh, okay.
what kind
Hello,
of-
many of you.
What kind of mentees do you like, or
Okay.
maybe you can share a bit about that.
Right. I mean, I like mentees who straight away open up to share their problems. Okay, those are the best cases to start off with, because I have some sessions where like the conversation is very dry and like everyone is so shy to talk, and then I have to ask a lot of questions for them to open up, right? For mentees out there, okay, don't worry. Just tell what is your problem, what are you facing, okay, where you need guidance from, okay, or even you said that, okay, you've already done A, B, C, okay, and how can you improve better and things like that, right? We open and tell us your problems, okay, because maybe we won't be able to solve it as well, But we have, at least, I know someone who can. Let's loop in another mentor, right? Or even as a mentor, right? I spoke to another mentor and I realized that, okay, this particular mentor is strong in this particular skill set that you need. Okay, I will help to pair them up, right? Things like that, right? So yeah, be open and talk about it. Don't be shy and stuff like that. And second place, don't be late. It's very, especially on the online platform, right? I'm looking at the blank screen waiting is actually very sad.
Hey, that's true, guys. There's a lot of mentors wait for you guys, so please be on time. In the last 10 years of experience, right? I would love to know a bit more about, the things you do outside work, specifically KakiDIY. Maybe you could share a bit more, what is it? What do you do? And
Okay, cool. Yeah. One thing is, because I have ADHD, right? I like to do all kinds of stuff to keep me busy. Okay. And second, because I have a long list of bucket list stuff that I want to do, so that's why I keep on doing all this crazy stuff, right? And while doing all these things, I actually learn and then I share, right? So that is how I got into KakiDIY. Okay. So 10 years ago, I created KakiDIY.
Wow.
Okay. Basically because all this while since my teenage years, right, I always, those days when I grew up, there's no such thing as YouTube, Facebook and all that. So we only have something called a BBS forum. Okay, so it's basically forums with just text and all that, and later on you have pictures, right? So I always write and share ideas there. Usually DIY ideas, upcycling ideas, how I collect junks and I build that into, performance part, right? Because I started off as an illegal street racer, by the way.
What?
Yeah. So KakiDIY was built on a platform of illegal street racing. Don't do that. Okay, don't do that. Okay, don't do as I do that, do as I say, right, kind of thing. Yeah. So, but anyway, what happened was I keep on writing all these articles in different forums. Okay, I also have my own forums those days. It's called Telok Bahang Speeders. Yes, lame. Okay, and there's hundreds of over articles, and later on it became lucrative because magazines started to contact me and then started to write articles, and I sell them articles. Right, it was good money. Right. The one that I don't like is they call it JL's DIY, okay? Or by my nickname that was given by the automotive world, DIY King. You can Google that up, right?
Wow.
And everyone's like, oh, the DIY King's idea, right? And it gets into me because I want these type of things to be embraced and owned by everyone. So I thought about it and 10 years ago, I said okay, let me create a name where everyone can be proud to say I am. Right. So KakiDIY's name came about because one, it's all about, we are Malaysians, right? Kaki means a whole gang of people together, like Kaki Bola. So how about people who likes to do DIY, then KakiDIY, right? So now everyone can say, I am KakiDIY. So basically that's how it all started. And what we do is actually, we just inspire anyone who likes to do DIYs, right? But my focus is not just DIY, because DIY is do it yourself. You can bake or you can make furnitures or cool 3D printers and drones and stuff like that. But we want to incubate them to be problem solvers, to be entrepreneurs, and to start their own business or create their own products, right? And since 10 years ago, we're doing that. We have some success, but a lot of failures. And I start to realize that, it is all because, our community and our society is not really ready on all this innovation and creating stuff. And looking into the problem, I start to realize that, because people aren't diagnosing and repairing their own stuff. So that's why 5 years ago, I created another movement called Kaki Repair. And Kaki Repair is to inspire you, to be diagnosing and repairing stuff rather than throwing them away and landed up in the landfills. So basically all these things now is an ecosystem where, we find people who likes to do repairs, we collaborate with them, people who can innovate from all these skill sets, then create problem-solving solutions and products, and from there build them into startups or build them into companies that can provide all these solutions to SMEs. So that's how all this happens.
That's amazing. So wow, I didn't know you're doing it for 10 years. This is 10 years and 5 years, this Kaki Repair. It's awesome. So tell me about this Facebook Community Accelerator. This is something I want to know as well, right?
Yeah.
So maybe just some statistics. I think there's 14,000 applicants that applied in the world, and he is one of the 130 that have been selected. So I kind of want to know.
All right,
about this.
I'm super honored with this actually, and it helps shaped Kaki Repair, and even my whole mindset for this, right? So all this while, the last 5 years, Kaki Repair was created for free. And it is still free, okay? Because I don't want people to come to learn and have to pay something to learn, right? So, but at the same time, how am I going to sustain this, right? Because I'm actually just paying off from my salary, right? Thanks to working in corporate and all that, right? Then the Facebook Accelerator program came about, and it's the first time they are opening up in Malaysia. Before that, they were in Singapore, and there's Thailand and the Philippines. That's fine, right? So first time open up here, and then I was like, okay, I just apply it, right? And then I got selected, and somehow, basically it's like that. There's 14,000 community leaders who has a Facebook group that qualify for it and apply. And from there, 130 globally is selected to be part of the program, and in Asia Pacific there's 19 of us, right? So we were given the tools and coaching and mentoring, and actually this is the first time I am in a program that I'm being mentored, right? And I'm so happy about it because this is the first time I can really learn from everyone, right? And from there we actually go through a few rounds, and there's this special selection which I didn't know, that they were selecting the top of the top globally, right? And and Kaki Repair managed to be, the only one from Malaysia selected, and we are now the 0.01% of community builders in the world that is in Facebook, right?
That's amazing, man. That's amazing.
And one thing about this program helped us a lot is because right before this program, Kaki Repair was a physical event. I always go once a month in different places, gathering people to do repairs, right? And after 30 sessions, we only able to manage to get to around 2,000 participants. Okay, it's still not too bad because end of the day a session is very physical and very taxing and things like that. And it's because of one, COVID, and second, with the program helping us to think and build our own platform. Today, in the short 24 months, right, we have over 1,000 members right now, and we actually reach out to over 100,000 people fixing their own stuff, and over millions of ringgits of items being fixed and all for free.
That's amazing. So if you guys want to, check out Johnson's KakiDIY, go check them out on Facebook. All right, Johnson. So we have this segment in this podcast called Random Question Attack. These questions are created by the team and put into this Groot head.
Okay.
So
I am Groot.
All right, man.
Okay. Wow.
Let's
Okay.
pick a question.
Knowing the creativity of your team, I think I better expect something quirky and funny. And okay, let me see. What's the first thing that you will do if you are Elon Musk? Not buy Twitter. Let me see. Okay, on a serious note, right? What's the first thing I'll do? Actually, I think I'll be doing exactly what he's doing. Because I believe in end of the day, we need to find somewhere else that we can populate and not destroy like Earth. Okay, and to do that, I need to prepare up my whole ecosystem, right? I need a rocket to be able to do that. I need to find sustainable and renewable energy. That's what exactly he's doing, right? Yeah, and probably I'll enjoy life a little bit more as well.
So basically be Elon Musk.
I'll make it into Tony Stark actually.
Okay, come on.
Okay. Next one. Let me see. If you could meet anyone in this world today, who would you meet? Alamak. Anyone, fictional and non-fictional.
Oh, that's huge.
Tony Stark.
Why?
Well, he is like Elon Musk, but funnier. Sorry, Elon. and his cool technology, and actually Jarvis and Friday actually the one doing most of the work, right? I want to meet them actually instead.
Yeah. Okay. Last one.
Okay. Tang, tang, tang.
Right.
Oh, what are the crazy adventures you want to try in your life?
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Because
see.
luckily I tried many
I
of it.
feel like you'll try. Yeah.
Okay, the one that I haven't tried is actually skydiving. Okay, it's not hard to do, just that I don't have time to do. And probably space travel.
Space travel?
Yeah.
How far into space? Just
As long as I can,
As long as you can come back.
exactly. Just as long as I can experience no gravity, I think I'll be good enough. I can die now.
How about skydiving? Like, why skydiving?
First of all, I actually got fears of height. Okay, so sky is high enough. Okay. Second, I think I would like to enjoy that whole free fall moment to see how small I am actually am. And then and see things in a different perspective, right?
Okay. Last question from me, right? If you could have any superpower, what would you pick and why?
Mind control.
Oh,
Yeah, I
scary,
think.
man. Why?
I think it's easier, right? Because end of the day, I'm a person. I can only do that much. If I can mind control, right? Wow, I can have like an army of people solving problems, right? Or do the right thing, like that fellow who just illegally let's cross the road, right? Mind control him. Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Right.
All right, Johnson. Thank you so much thank you so much for joining us today on our first ever podcast. Johnson Lam, everyone. Thank you.